Keith Urban, the country music star, is in the news after getting emotional during a concert in Nashville on October 17th. Fans surprised him with red paper hearts while he sang his hit, Somebody Like You, just 18 days after his divorce from Nicole Kidman. He got so emotional that he dropped to his knees and paused. He also joked with a fan named Nicole by asking if she meant Nicole Richie. Urban became famous in 2002 with his album Golden Road. His song Somebody Like You topped the charts for 6 weeks and became a major country hit. His $75 to $114 million net worth comes from his music, tours, TV gigs like American Idol, and his guitar line. He also owns properties worth around $36 million. Keith and Nicole's divorce splits a $450 to $500 million fortune. Nicole has primary custody of their daughters, with Keith seeing them 59 days a year. Picture this: Keith Urban on stage, lights dimmed, guitar in hand, the crowd swaying to a heartbreak anthem. Then out of nowhere, he stops mid-song, looks out at the sea of fans, and says 6 words that freeze the moment. Stop reading into it. The arena falls silent. Was this a message to the media, a jab at a rumor, or something way more personal? Because when a star as polished as Keith Urban breaks character like that, it's never random. This wasn't just another concert. It was a moment of truth wrapped in music. And trust me, the story behind those 6 words goes deeper than you think. You're watching Spill Society. Hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned because this drama is just getting started. It didn't seem real. Hollywood's golden couple, the calm amid the chaos, is suddenly over. The headline hit like a thunderclap. Nicole Kidman files for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years. At first, no one believed it. After all, this was the duo that defied every Hollywood cliché. 2 megastars who made marriage look effortless. They met in 2005, fell fast, and for nearly 2 decades, Keith and Nicole stood as the picture of love and loyalty in an industry built on scandal. But then came the papers, filed quietly in Nashville under the most ordinary of reasons: irreconcilable differences. No joint statement, no social media farewell, just a few lines of legal text marking the end of one of Hollywood's most admired unions. For fans, it was heartbreaking. They'd watched the couple's journey from red carpets to rehab to redemption. They saw Keith credit Nicole with saving his life. Nicole called Keith her rock through every storm, and both of them shut down rumors with smiles and hand-holding at premieres. But when the cameras turned off, insiders say things weren't as picture-perfect as they seemed. Schedules stretched thin, distance grew longer, and whispers about creative tension, jealousy, and emotional exhaustion started bubbling beneath the surface. Still, nobody expected this. Sources close to the couple described the split as amicable, but the suddenness raised eyebrows. No separation period, no public lead-up, just a clean legal break after nearly 2 decades. And that's the thing about Hollywood love stories. They often end quietly, but the echoes last for years. Behind the polished statements and polite silence, there's always a trail. Studio whispers, late-night phone calls, friends forced to pick sides. The paperwork may have been clean, but what came after wasn't. Because when 2 icons who built an empire on unity suddenly go their separate ways, it leaves a vacuum, one filled with questions, rumors, and a search for the truth. What really went wrong between Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban? Was it distance, fame, or something deeper? One thing is for sure, this wasn't just a breakup. It was the fall of Hollywood's most untouchable couple. And the cracks that led to it are far more revealing than anyone expected. No explosive leaks, no cryptic posts, no public meltdowns, just quiet precision. While Hollywood braced for drama, Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman were already several steps ahead. Court documents later revealed the truth. Their split wasn't sudden at all. The parenting plan was signed in August, weeks before the story ever hit the press. Every detail from legal filings to public appearances was timed, coordinated, and controlled. While paparazzi hunted for chaos, Keith and Nicole were focused on one thing: protecting their daughters. There were no shouting matches in parking lots, no bitter statements through reps, no race to win public sympathy, just silence. Powerful, deliberate silence. For a couple that spent nearly 2 decades under the brightest spotlight, this was their final act of unity. It wasn't a collapse. It was a controlled landing, a decision made behind closed doors, away from noise, away from ego. In a city built on spectacle, where every breakup becomes clickbait, they did something rare. They chose peace. Every step showed a kind of emotional maturity that Hollywood rarely rewards. It is deeply respected. Even their closest friends said it felt more like a farewell than a fallout. Keith poured himself into his music, Nicole into her films, both quietly reshaping their lives without bitterness or blame. And while the headlines tried to turn it into heartbreak, the truth was far more graceful. This wasn't the explosion everyone expected. It was the quiet end of an era handled with dignity, intention, and a calm that spoke louder than any scandal ever could. Every lyric, every pause, suddenly, it all meant something. Keith Urban's tour turned into a public therapy session the moment the divorce news broke. Fans analyzed every word, every glance toward the crowd, every song choice, as if it were a confession. When he canceled one show, headlines screamed heartbreak. When he returned the next night, playing harder, louder, and more emotionally than ever, they called it defiance. But behind the spotlight, it wasn't about proving anything. For Keith, music has never been a publicity tool. It's survival. The stage has always been his safest place to fall apart, to bleed without words, to make sense of the chaos through sound. Night after night, fans watched a man trying to heal in real time. His guitar became his outlet, his audience, his therapy. Some saw pain, others saw strength. But what everyone felt was raw honesty. No press statements, no interviews, just music. Even as tabloids tried to turn every performance into a storyline, Keith let the song speak for him. Because when everything else was falling apart, the stage was the one place he could still stand tall. Not as a headline, not as half of a Hollywood power couple, but as an artist finally letting the truth play out in front of thousands. It was one of those nights that could only happen in Nashville, a sold-out Bridgestone arena. Every seat filled, the kind of electric tension that hums before a storm. Keith Urban walked out under the lights, guitar slung low, the crowd roaring in anticipation. On the set list was "You'll Think of Me," his classic breakup ballad, a song that suddenly carried an entirely different weight. The timing couldn't have been sharper. News of his spat with Nicole Kidman was still burning through headlines, and fans could feel it in the air. As the opening chords rang out, you could sense a collective breath being held. Every lyric hit harder. Every pause lingered longer. People whispered to each other, "Is this for Nicole?" Phones went up, recording, waiting for a moment, any moment, that might confirm the rumors. Keith kept singing, voice steady, but eyes distant like he was somewhere else entirely. Then came the bridge, the emotional high point of the song, and suddenly he stopped. The guitar faded and the crowd went silent. A small smirk crept across his face, and in that silence he leaned toward the mic and said 6 words that would echo far beyond the arena. "Stop reading into it." For a beat, the world froze. Gasps, nervous laughter, then a wave of cheers rolled through the crowd. It was raw, unscripted, and unforgettable. Within hours, the moment went viral. Clips plastered across TikTok, Twitter, and every entertainment site in the country. Headlines screamed, "Keith Urban snaps mid-show." Urban breaks the silence on Nicole's divorce. 6 words that stunned Nashville. But anyone who was actually there knew it wasn't anger. And it wasn't a meltdown. It was control. A seasoned performer drawing a line between truth and speculation. For years, Keith had been the calm in the media storm. His marriage dissected, his image polished to perfection. But that night on that stage, he stripped all of that away. It was just him, a guitar, and the weight of 19 years of love and loss. That smirk wasn't arrogance, it was liberation. He wasn't lashing out, he was reclaiming the story. Because in a world obsessed with drama, Keith Urban reminded everyone that the stage isn't just where he performs, it's where he tells the truth. And sometimes the most powerful lyric isn't sung at all, it's spoken. 6 words that silence the noise and say everything without saying much at all. Just when the tension in the arena seemed unbearable, the crowd did something no one could have anticipated. Thousands of red hearts rose into the air, glowing under the lights, a meticulously planned surprise that fans had been organizing for weeks. Keith froze mid-lyric, eyes scanning the sea of faces and the floating hearts, and then slowly dropped to his knees, guitar momentarily forgotten. It wasn't sadness that held him there. It was pure, unfiltered gratitude. His voice broke through the silence as he whispered, "You guys are everything." For the first time in weeks, the atmosphere shifted entirely. Gone were the whispers, the speculation, the frantic attempts to read between the lines of every song and every glance. Instead, there was connection, solidarity, and love. Fans weren't trying to decode a message. They were simply showing up, holding their hearts high, reminding him that even in the midst of personal chaos, support and care still existed. The arena swelled with energy. The music carried a renewed warmth, and the tension that had gripped the night melted away into something far rarer in Hollywood: healing. In that moment, Keith allowed himself to feel every ounce of it, letting the crowd's gesture fill the space that headlines and rumors could never reach. The lights, the hearts, the voices of thousands of fans created a scene that was both cinematic and intimate. A reminder that even under the brightest spotlight, human connection matters more than speculation. That night, the story wasn't about heartbreak or scandal. It was about resilience, gratitude, and the quiet power of a community lifting someone when the world seemed determined to tear them down. For once, the headline wasn't tragedy. It was hope, and it was unforgettable. While Nashville burned with emotion, Paris shimmered with poise. Nicole Kidman arrived at Paris Fashion Week, calm, radiant, and utterly in control. The kind of presence that made cameras pause and designers whisper. Every step she took with her daughters was deliberate, measured, and quietly powerful. A visual declaration that life goes on, even in the midst of personal upheaval. There were no statements to the press, no social media posts to stir speculation, no dramatic interviews. Just elegance that spoke volumes, saying, "I'm still standing." In a world obsessed with scandal and spectacle, Nicole chose silence and family over headlines, proving that resilience doesn't always need noise to be noticed. Behind the poised exterior, friends and insiders say she had been quietly planning this new chapter for weeks, if not months, using Paris, her work, and her children as anchors during a storm that could have easily derailed her. The city itself became part of the narrative. Its lights, its fashion, its rhythm mirroring her own sense of control, her reclamation of identity, and her refusal to be defined by heartbreak. Each outfit, each public appearance, each smile conveyed quiet defiance against a media eager to dramatize every move. While Keith found healing through music, Nicole healed through grace, presence, and a deliberate focus on what mattered most: her children, her craft, and her own well-being. In every photo, every runway walk, every fleeting glance, she reminded the world that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it glides quietly, yet unmistakably, through life. Paris wasn't just a backdrop, it was a statement. Even after loss, elegance and composure can create a narrative louder than any scandal. The media scrambled for headlines, but Nicole was already writing her own story, one measured moment at a time. And as the city shimmered around her, it became clear that this wasn't a comeback, a distraction, or a performance. It was a new chapter, quietly powerful, grounded in family and self-possession, and entirely her own. In the glow of Parisian lights, Nicole Kidman showed the world that grace under pressure isn't just admirable, it's transformative, and sometimes it speaks louder than words ever could. The internet quickly turned into a crime lab for heartbreak, with fans dissecting every lyric, analyzing every set list, and hunting for hidden messages that might reveal Keith Urban's inner thoughts. TikTok videos exploded with theories. Timelines were mapped, and every whispered word during concerts became evidence in the court of fan speculation. Comments flooded in. Was this song about Nicole? That chord progression a secret message? Every pause, every glance, every lyric was read like a confession. But Keith's response, both on stage and through silence, was telling. Stop reading into it. It wasn't defiance or drama. It was exhaustion. A quiet reminder that not every song is a diary entry. Not every lyric is a hidden confession. Fans wanted a puzzle. Keith just wanted to perform, to heal, to feel without turning every note into a headline. And in that tension between fandom obsession and personal boundaries, the truth became clear. The music was for him first, the speculation for everyone else. Sometimes a song is just a song, and a performer's words are meant to be heard, not decoded. And just when the night felt impossibly heavy, a moment of perfect irony cut through the tension. From somewhere in the crowd, a fan shouted, "Nicole!" The arena held its breath, waiting for a reaction. Keith froze for a heartbeat, then laughed, a warm, genuine laugh that seemed to release weeks of tension. He said, "Of course it is." The words carry both humor and acknowledgement. In that instant, the crowd erupted, laughter and cheers mingling with the lingering emotion of the songs. It was a reminder that even amidst heartbreak, Keith's charm and perspective remain unshakable. He could acknowledge the speculation, the rumors, the personal pain, and still find light in the moment. Laughter through heartbreak. That's Keith's superpower. The audience felt it too. It wasn't mockery or deflection, but a shared human moment in a night layered with emotion. That simple exchange, a fan's shout, a smile, a line delivered with warmth, became a release. It reminded everyone watching that even in pain, there is room for levity, for connection, and for the kind of resilience that only comes from truly knowing yourself. Keith's music could convey sorrow, longing, and love. But his laughter reminded fans that healing often arrives not just in lyrics, but in the unscripted, fleeting moments where life and humanity peek through. He ended the night not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Standing center stage, guitar in hand, he looked out over the crowd and said, "You've been with me through everything." And for once, it wasn't a line or a lyric. It was the truth. As thousands sang along, the arena became less about speculation and more about shared experience, a reminder that connection and respect can exist, even amid heartbreak. Keith and Nicole showed the world that even under the harshest spotlight, it's possible to end a love story with dignity, grace, and quiet strength. Maybe stop reading into it. It wasn't a shutdown after all. Maybe it was wisdom, a lesson in letting life unfold without overanalyzing every move. Because love doesn't need decoding, it just needs respect. This is Spill Society. Hit subscribe for more real Hollywood stories that reveal what headlines never reveal.